Hi, I'm Peachy.
Hello, I'm Patrick.
And today we are joined by someone from far afield across the pond, Eric from Eric's Hobby Workshop. Hello, Eric. How are you? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the painting phase.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I bet you're jet lagged.
A little bit. Yeah.
You flew in yesterday. Is that right?
Yeah. Yesterday, we arrived in the morning after an overnight flight. So, feeling the jet lag a little bit. I might have rolled out of bed like 15 minutes before I was supposed to meet you, but
We'll keep getting your coffee.
I made it here.
Filling it in.
Yeah.
Intravenously get your coffee.
It's like rock and roll style. Come to Nottingham, roll out of bed, guest on the painting phase.
No big deal.
It's the way. It's the way. So for our viewers, I think we've started doing now a bit because we just go straight in and talk waffle and go on to subjects of hobby and stuff. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself? Who is Eric and what is Eric's Hobby Workshop?
Sure. So, the Hobby Workshop is where I do my hobbying. But I was thinking about this yesterday. I guess, people would describe me as Eric from Eric's Hobby Workshop, but it would be neater if they just called me the Hobby Workshop. If they just said, "Oh, it's Eric's Hobby Workshop," because then you don't have to double up on the Eric. And really, the Hobby Workshop's in here and in here.
Oh,
So-
nice.
Very good. Very good.
I like that. It goes everywhere. No matter where you are, it's always there.
Yeah. No, but I'm a hobbyist. I make miniature painting videos and terrain videos and I guess video essay type things sometimes. Just videos I think would be cool, that pertain to my interests. And I try not to put too narrow of a definition on it, so I can leave myself freedom for a left turn if I want to.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice. You make some amazing terrain.
Oh, thank you.
You do
Thank you.
awesome hobby builds, terrain builds. Your Legion videos, was it a two-parter? Every Legion?
Yeah.
Whew, that did well.
Yeah. People like Space Marines.
Yeah,
believe
they
it or
do,
not.
yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to make things that are entertaining and accessible.
Yeah.
Kind of balance those things. But then sometimes I like to do things that are really big and crazy too. Sort of some stuff that's a little bit, I guess, aspirational, where people can say, "Oh, I don't have the room or the time for that, but I'm glad somebody's doing it."
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
some things that are like, "Oh, I can do that. That's $5 worth of materials and takes an evening." So,
Yeah.
both those things I think are important.
I do, yeah. I've always found that quite interesting because I've always gone for the mindset of like, I'm going to help people along the hobby journey and show them things that are achievable or whatever. But actually, I think it is quite nice to show those big things that they might never do themselves. So they're kind of the box is ticked, so you can just watch it,
Right, exactly.
see it get
Yeah.
done, which is always a nice little.
Yeah, because it's funny. Like I get all kinds of people in the comments saying, some people saying, you've inspired me to try something for the first time, which is really nice. And then there's other people saying, I don't even do Warhammer. I don't know how I stumbled on this video, but this is cool. I just enjoy watching this. So I try to, I think half of the battle in making videos is trying to understand who might be watching it.
Yeah.
And then, making it as good as possible. So
Yeah, I was talking to Lucky from Zorpazop the other week, and he was saying that he
Legend.
legend, absolutely. He did some battle reports, and they just didn't do very well. And it was all because a lot of the people that viewed it wasn't hobbyists. They were like model builders or like model railway builders or people that just like seen dioramas and stuff. So that was quite an interesting dynamic for me going, oh, that'd be interesting to see
yeah.
the viewer.
If you always do one kind of content and then you change up, then you might have an established audience who isn't interested in it. So I try to keep people guessing with just random stuff all the time. And then you can't pigeonhole me, right?
Yeah.
But
That's a good, a wise move, because I've seen people that do keep it to a very strict set of rules, and then it becomes not enslaved to that, but then
it's like a train track sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Whereas we've done a little bit of one battle report so far, some random hobby things, some silly things. So.
Well, I think like a worry for me was like in the chat shows and stuff, because myself and Peachy are like XGW. It would be like, oh, then there was this story and this happened, and that's something I've tried to shy away from.
Yeah,
and not like it comes out occasionally, but
we
it's
all have
not
opinions, don't we?
Yeah.
About them.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not like a pillar of our content.
No,
I don't think. Yeah,
not about the drama. sometimes I might whinge about like a particular release or whatever. Like, why can't I get these models I really want?
Yeah, don't get Peachy started on Warcry cards.
I love Warcry, right? And I like the cards. I still use them. Don't you pull me down there.
Just trying to drag you.
Well, from an outside viewer, it's fascinating that you guys, you seem to know so much about the inner workings of the inner circle of what's going on. And like, in North America, it kind of just feels so out of the loop, and that people know all this behind the scenes information. That's one of the things I really like about you guys. You have all these characters on who have inside stories from back in the day and stuff. It's kind of like demystifying it, but sometimes you demystify something, it becomes less interesting.
Yeah.
You guys demystify it in a way where it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. I want to learn more. There's so much under the surface that's just not accessible if you're like outside of sort of the inner circle. So you guys bring everyone in. I love it.
Well, as both fans of Mordine, whether you've played many games or not is irrelevant. I'd like to get Thomas Pirrin in at some point and to talk about, like, because he wrote the rules. Obviously, it was aided by other people because a rule writer doesn't always do it on his own. But I'd love to get him on and chat about like his thoughts about.
He'd be great. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Yeah.
So, Eric, when he was a small wee lad many years ago, what got Eric into the hobby?
I've thought a lot about this. I mean, I can tell you the first time I saw Warhammer was at a neighbor's house. And we used to have these two next door neighbors, and we just invite ourselves over to their house every day. They were like older kids, and we didn't have a computer at the time, and they had a computer with all the best video games. So my brother and I would just go over there after school and knock on the door, and their mom would open the door, and she'd be like, "Oh, you guys again?" Like, yeah, they're upstairs. So we just watch them play video games, basically.
I was that kid as well.
Yeah. One day we came in and. Like you'd come in and go upstairs, and then the stairs split and go downstairs. And downstairs they had a pool table, and I could see something set up on the pool table. And I was like, "What's that?" And they had little trees and everything. And it was second edition Gretchens and Orcs and a bunch of trees and piles of pebbles and stuff. And I was kind of immediately drawn into it. And I asked one of the kids about it, the older kid, and he said, "Oh, you think that's cool? Check this out." And he went up to his room and he brought down a box of the old wood elves.
Oh, amazing.
And he had, I just remember he had a great eagle. And I was just really kind of immediately drawn into it because the detail was so crisp, and there was sort of a sense of internal scale that I really appreciated that was consistent, because I used to play with micro machines before that.
Oh, I remember them.
Yeah, they're fun, right? But then it's like you got a guy who's this big and a tank that's that big, and an aircraft carrier that's that big. And so I was kind of like, well, hang on, like the plane's bigger than the aircraft carrier. Like, what am I doing here?
So, someone needs to get in touch with Micro Machines and have a word about scale creep.
We were also, I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be Star Wars Action Fleet. They were made by Micro Machines, but they were a little bit more consistent with scale. But even then, like the X-Wing was the same size as the Millennium Falcon. But you could fit the same pilot in it, but the Millennium Falcon, you couldn't have two pilots sitting abreast. It was just a one guy because it was only this big, because it needed to fit in the same box.
That's ruined it for me now.
But they were still, like, I think there's sort of a slippery slope to get into Warhammer because it's just little things.
Yeah.
And all toys are little things, right? I mean, I had Cowboys and Indians figurines when I was a kid with the Log Builder set. And... cool. It's like what's the first point when I started playing with little guys? I mean, it's like before I can remember, right? So, but yeah, then I didn't actually paint or have any of my own until a few years later, maybe a year and a half later. A friend of mine was coming over for a sleepover, and he said, "You're artistic. I need your help with something." And he had a box of Gene Stealers. Very cool. And I used to. Paint a little bit because my mom paints, and so we had acrylic paints and stuff, and we tried to paint these Gene Stealers. It was a mess. We kind of figured out actually how to dry brush though, because we were looking at the box, and I was like, okay, well, there's no way anybody picks out those veins on the side of the head by hand. So what if we just tried to like just touch them, and we got a real sort of chalky, horrible effect, but I was kind of hooked. And then Warhammer became a full-blown fad in my elementary school, where it was like Razor scooters died out or whatever, and then every kid had Warhammer all of a sudden. Before you could imagine it, it's just all of a sudden everybody had a Warhammer army. And I got like a reputation as somebody who was a good painter. So kids were lining up, "I'll paint my greater demon, paint this."
Oh,
and
wow.
all their best models, they'd give them to me. And I had a big queue of models that I was painting for people.
Commission
and then,
painter at school.
yeah, I was. And then everybody just lost interest. Like that, like a fad.
Yeah.
And I said, you want your greater demon back? Now you keep it. So that's kind of the start of like, I have a pretty wild collection of minis, and a lot of them are old commission projects that people just didn't want back because it's like, I'm in grade 7 now. I'm not touching that stuff. Like, are you nuts? Like, that's, well. And for some reason, I've never lost interest, like even a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm just as susceptible to fads as the next guy, but Warhammer is still as interesting to me as it was, when I was a child as it is now. So,
Yeah, I know the snooker table story reminds me of my brother had like a really tiny one. It wasn't very big at all, but we used to use that as a gaming board as well because of the green felt. It looked like grass.
Yeah.
And we had these sort of like IKEA drawers where they go in like a little shelf and they've got like a little insert cut out so you can get your finger in and open the drawer.
Okay.
But you turn them upside down, they look like orc buildings, and that looked like a door. And obviously using things like... we didn't have the second edition box set, but we used Space Crusade figures because there were some Gretchen's orcs and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I definitely remember playing our first war game on a snooker table with IKEA drawers as buildings. That was definitely a vibe. Not pebbles, though. We didn't get pebbles on it. We didn't damage that felt, but yeah, I don't think when I was at school, it wasn't really a fad, and arguably I'm probably a bit older than yourself.
Yeah.
Unless you're just really good looking, and in Canada they keep their youth for a long time. You're like Dane. I'm actually 87, says Eric.
The cold is like a cryo storage sort of thing.
Cryo storage.
Keeps you fresh. Yeah.
It's good bathed in maple syrup, I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never tell.
Yeah. Great for the skin, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the hobby journey that I guess a lot of us can relate to, school or friends and stuff like that, get into it. But I guess for me, you never worked for Workshop, did you?
No.
So what moved from doing like painting like random stuff for your mates at school and keeping all of that to making a YouTube channel? How did that all come about?
Okay, well, I guess I missed a little bit of the journey as well. Is that I started collecting Warhammer because you remember that Games Workshop, they used to have these free flyers by the front that had the centerfold was the Bretonians versus Lizardmen. So I have 4 brothers, and we were in a road trip once, and it was one of the things we were passing around the car. We had Game Boys, we had magazines, and all of us were like, "This is so cool." And we were going to visit our grandmother, and she gave us $20 each, and we all agreed we'll spend that on Warhammer when we get back. So we all started playing at the same time. And so I've always been into it with my brothers. And it's sort of around the holidays and stuff, we always get together and do it. And it's kind of kept us all into it over the years. And it's one of the things that I talk about why Warhammer is such a good hobby, or miniatures in general, is there's so many hobbies packed into one. Like my brother is a very different personality than me. He's very analytical. And he's drawn to the rules side of it.
Yeah, okay.
And he and I, haven't had too many things that we've bonded over as a similar interest over the years. But because he's so into that side, and I'm so into the artistic side, the building side, painting, creating things, we approach it from 2 angles where we're both like, "Oh, that's so cool that you've done this," and then we have something to bond over. So I guess that's kind of how I got into building terrain in the first place, is because I had all these brothers. Like, it's, if I paint something really nice, like for my army, they're like, "Okay, cool, but that's for your army," But if I make something for the table that we can all use, then they're more excited about it, because they can, my 2 brothers can play each other and use the fortified tower and the forest in that battle, and it elevates everybody's experience. So that's kind of why I was always into building terrain. And then I just started, for some reason, I never really knew what Necromunda was. We played Warhammer Fantasy. So I would be flipping through White Dwarf, and it'd be the 40k pages, and I kind of give them a skim. And then there'd be like a Necromunda, and be like, "I don't know what that is, but that looks cool." And I just keep flipping. And then a few years ago, I say a few, it's probably like close to 10 now, I started looking more into what Necromunda was, because I dug out some old models, and for whatever reason, there was a Cawdor Juve in there with them. I don't know where it came from. To this day, I don't know where it came from, but I Googled it and figured out what it was. And I go, "Oh, it's a Necromunda model." Oh, cool. And then I started going down the rabbit hole of what Necromunda is.
It's quite a rabbit hole.
And I was thinking, like, I could build some really cool Necromunda terrain. And you know what? The setting's really interesting. Like, and I started going to thrift shops and seeing, like, Batman play sets. And I'm like, I could poach that railing there. And then this thing over here. And I started thinking about that. And so it was just sort of one summer. I was in a department store with my wife. And there was this water gun. And I was looking at it. And I was like, if you turn it like that.
I'm so glad I'm not alone.
That would be a pretty cool sci-fi
I
tower.
could see, as you mentioned, like pilfering bits from toys, just a massive grin on Peach's face because he does that all
Not
the
for
time.
my child. It's not great for him.
Yeah. You're like, oh, this castle. Ooh.
I'll come to that in a moment. But
Yeah.
that's cool.
But so I saw this thing and I was like, my wife had been encouraging me to make YouTube content because I dug up some Bretonians and I was painting them and stuff. She's like, you should make a YouTube channel. And I was like, So it wasn't really on my radar, but then I was like, you know what? I could make a sci-fi tower and then I could make a tutorial for people.
Yeah.
Because this stuff used to be in White Dwarf all the time. And I realized how much of that's kind of gone away for people who are just getting into the hobby.
Yeah.
Like I had a conversation with somebody that really kind of opened my eyes where they were like, oh, you could just put sand on the base. You don't need like a basing spread or whatever. And I was like, yeah, of course. That's what they used to teach us,
Yeah.
and a lot of that's kind of gone away. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there were like a resource for people to sort of enjoy some of these old scratch building techniques that there used to be, and show people this whole side of it. Because I was always more drawn to that a little bit. Like I would love to open a White Dwarf or an Army's book and think, oh, look what they've done there. They built a windmill and you can recognize one piece of it and then try to figure out what the rest of it must be. Oh, that's balsa wood. And it also kind of makes the world feel more vast in a way too.
Yeah.
Like nothing against the current people who do the terrain for Games Workshop and the settings, but sometimes like you'll open a spread and it's gorgeous, but you look at the back and it's like 100 alchemite stacks or something.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a little. It's like, well, I recognize that right away as what it is, and it's sort of. It makes the world feel a little bit smaller that there's only so many structures. Whereas if somebody had done something clever with, a Pringles tube and some, it's like, well, that's a structure I've never seen before. I want to see more. I want to see around the corner from that. I want to see the rest of this world that they're implying. But when they kind of imply that all the world has the same structures, it shrinks it down a little bit. That's the same thing that in Harry Potter, I don't know if you guys remember, but they ended up revealing that some of the things that Harry Potter had in the first book were like the invisibility cloak was actually a much bigger deal. Yeah. And to me, I think that was a mistake. It like shrunk the world down.
Yeah.
It's better if you keep it a little bit more open-ended and say, you're just building one tiny corner of this world and somebody else is building another tiny corner.
Yeah.
And it implies something so much more vast and limitless.
Like Star Wars has been pretty bad for that recently with like the Han Solo film and that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, like the Falcon's hyperdrive is actually the remnants of this robot and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to tie up every loose end.
And that's one of the other. The
world building in the first movie, they with one sentence allude to something so vast. You made the Kessel Run and however many parsecs. You don't need to know what any of those things are. It just implies that there's a route that's well known enough that people know how long it takes, and that
Or with the Solo thing in particular, everything he discusses in the 3 originals about what he's ever done is condensed into a 2-week journey.
So instead of having all this experience, it's like he had one prequel movie.
It
kind of cheapens it a little bit.
What happened after that? Oh, not a lot. I mean, Chewie just flew around for a bit. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Really great.
I guess it's like with Workshop, like with the scenery stuff, I guess from their point of view, if they did a cool thing with a Pringles tube, someone were like, oh my God, that's awesome. Can I buy it? No.
Yeah.
How do you make it? We can't tell you.
Well, they could just put a stack of Pringle tubes by the cache. There is overlap in that audience. Of people who are like,
oh yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who doesn't like Pringles?
Bloody love crisps.
Going back to the Pringle thing in itself. I mean, they used to do these old books like how to make war games terrain, and it was using polystyrene.
Nigel Stillman.
Nigel Stillman. Yeah, I should have brought it because it's such a good book. But my favourite thing was the silo, which was just like a can. Like a bean can, and then some drinking straws, bit of like cardboard cut on it to make like little hatches and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Sprayed black, dry brush silver.
Oh, is this the? I saw a video. I think it was Broadsword Wargaming making like retro scenery, and
Yeah.
it was like the 3 balls, like the cactus.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
That's another
Yeah,
classic.
like Alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's fine to show that, and then you do like White Dwarf articles about how this was made and how that was made. And to a certain point, you know, like Dave Andrews, he makes a lot of the 40k, or certainly did at the time, made a lot of the 40k plastics. And it was like most of the battles are fought over Imperial worlds. Imperials are like a parasite across the galaxy. They're everywhere. So there's going to be ruins, there's going to be remnants of that. But I still feel like, you know, having the odd, because there was like a weird ziggurat in this How to Make Wargames terrain that had like pumps in it. So I was like, what does that do? What does this power?
Yeah.
It looks like a temple, but it's definitely a sci-fi temple that has pumps. Is it just a water pump? But it just looks really mythical
You
and
know,
stuff
a lot
like
of
that.
people believe the Great Pyramid of Giza is a water pump.
Oh, do they? Really?
Yeah. Don't get me started on that. I can go down a whole
Conspiracy.
I love it. For spaceships. I thought it was a landing space for spaceships.
It's not. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to get too into. It's a tomb. We know it's a tomb. I'll leave it at that.
It's no mine, it's a tomb.
Exactly.
This is no water pump, this is a tomb. Said Sean Bean when he was a pharaoh of ancient Egypt in one of his many films before he died.
Oh,
See, we got Sean Bean in it somehow.
Yeah. One day he'll be sat in that
One
seat.
day he'll be sat
Yeah.
where you're sat.
I'm glad
Yeah.
that came up. You know, I when my son was an infant, that's like in a very short period of time, I read about 20 Sharp novels because he would he'd fall asleep in my arms, and I didn't want to put him down too early because then he wakes up again. So I just sort of flip out my phone on
nice.
my
Yeah,
Kindle app and just read over his shoulder. And you know, they just go by so quickly because they're so digestible.
Have you got a particular favourite? Bernard Cornwell's
I
novels?
like his the first 3 chronologically, where he's in India.
Oh, yes.
I'm fond of those ones.
Yeah, because it's Tiger, Triumph, and I forget what the other one is. I know they did Trafalgar at one point. Where it's just
Trafalgar's right after. I think Trafalgar's the 4th.
Yes, I can't remember what the other one is, but but I've definitely had Tiger and Triumph, and they were good.
Is it Battle? Sharp's Battle?
Might
Is
be.
one of them Battle?
I
don't know.
There is definitely Battle, but I can't remember if that's a Spain one or not.
Yeah, there's a
so
lot of
many.
them.
There's so many.
Pretty much any word after Sharp's, and you
Sharp's
get there.
breakfast. Cool, let's read that.
So it's funny. I haven't actually watched much of the BBC show, but I'm a big Sharp fan, just from the books.
Free on YouTube, so you can.
I've watched clips. Like I started getting served a lot of Sharp clips, and I enjoy them. But
Have you watched the compilation where he just says "bastard"? Like, 10 minutes.
I mean, it was Yorkshire Day recently, so that video did the rounds. Yeah, and it's sensational. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but I agree. I think seeing like you do the stuff that you do on your channel, like the Necromunda builds and stuff like that. I think definitely that having that as a resource for people to look at is just as good as teaching people how to paint the plastic that comes in the box. Because it could be a lost skill. I think as time goes on.
yeah, I also think that was accessible for me when I was a kid and I had no money.
Yeah.
Right? And, I mean, there's a huge cohort of people in the hobby now who are, more established in their careers, have a bit more disposable income and can splash money on kits. But, we want kids to be able to get into this and feel like they can participate at the same level as everybody else. And I think that a lot of the time you need that sort of fresh idea that kids have. To keep things sort of fresh and interesting. And so I think those scratch build techniques were a big important part of making it accessible to me at a young age, because it's an expensive hobby, you know what I mean? As adult hobbies go, if you compare it with collecting cars, it's not an expensive hobby. But as kids hobbies go, if you compare it with, I don't know, whatever else kids do, collect sticks,
Sticks and conkers.
yeah.
My favourite scratch build I ever did, and I was so proud of it, was from that How to Make Wargames terrain. And you get your green scouring pads for scrubbing dishes and stuff like that. Was making hedgerows out of that.
Oh, cool.
But what they do is they fold. They basically cut a strip and you fold it, so it's got like a nice rounded top.
I had a view of those at home.
It was so nice. And then using like balsa wood or lollipop sticks to make little fences. So I did like a few of these hedgerows, and then one with like a gate, and then like a couple with a bit of fence. And I think I put them on cardboard, or it might have been wood. because cardboard's not particularly great because it'll warp a bit. I made a mistake doing that once with a Necromunda build. I made a really cool building with a straw on it on the side, and put on the same cardboard I made the building with, and it just had curly bits coming out the side. That's when I learned, when you put lots of stuff like modelling clay and paint on cardboard, it warps and bends wood next time.
Although, a good fix is to paint the bottom of it too and then warp it back the other way. That's a classic Wylock's armory technique. Yeah.
Damn it. The past Peach is now regretting not doing that.
But no, I made some of those hedgerows when I was in 7th grade. I remember it vividly, and it was, the sponges were already under the sink. And, I'd already spent as much as I could on the starter box.
Yes,
right? And then so...
It's such a simple build,
it was simple, and there was a little card building you could make as well. And I spent what felt like a year making all the shingles for it.
So that was something I really like. It's like you for like the roof tiles and stuff. Because my dad built one of the inns that's in there, and you just did strips of cardboard and just cut into it to look like really rickety old roof tiles, and then making our special mix of bird poo at the time, which was just like white and rotting flesh, because bird poo isn't white or green, it's somewhere in between. So I remember Dave Andrews had a drawer, and he had because he used to paint a lot of the scenery for the Empire buildings that were the plastic kits, he used to have lots of bird poo on the top, and he had a couple of pots. Like there was like the base coat and then the whitey kind of tone that goes over the top of it. I was like, you actually have in your drawer bird poo colours. It's like, because I paint a lot of bird poo on top of buildings. I always remember that. It's so funny.
What's really funny to me is I was on the train up here from London, and I always thought, you remember the old Warhammer trees they used to make that are very round? They're sort of bottle brush construction and very round. I used to think that doesn't look like a tree. And we're passing all these farmer fields on the way up here, and you guys have these round-looking trees. And my jaw dropped. I was like, you know what? Those old Warhammer trees are a pretty good representation of the trees that grow around.
They're very flat underneath, aren't they? Because of all the sheep just eating away at the leaves.
There you go. So I was like, wow, I'm wrong. That's actually a very good tree.
That's amazing.
But that's not what trees look like where I'm from.
No.
But now I get it.
Never thought about that. Because I used to live near a stately home. I wish it was mine. It wasn't. And they used to have loads of trees like that. And then, of course, the conifers and pine trees and stuff like that. There'll be like the odd one of those because they'd obviously import them because they're rich. Wrap them with like lots of towels to keep them warm over winter.
Really?
They didn't do that. I'm just making that up. But.
No, good. Yeah.
Speaking of which. I learned something really cool recently, which is after I booked this trip to Nottingham, my mom just casually mentioned, she goes, your great-grandfather's from Nottingham. Did you know? I didn't know.
What?
Oh, wow.
And then a few days before we left, she dug up this document, this like typewritten document someone had taken a photo of that has information about that part of the family. And his father, my great-great-grandfather, used to be a dairy farmer on the Walleton estate.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And I was like, where's that? It's like 10 minutes from where I'm from.
Yeah.
So there's something in the blood, I guess. It draws me over here.
Yeah,
but,
that's a walk over, I suppose.
My wife and I are going to go check it out.
It's a nice park.
And Wollerton, the house there was used in Christopher Nolan's Batman.
I heard that.
Wayne
I love
Manor.
that.
So it's really cool. And so awesome.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, that's really cool.
What a small world, eh?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird how talking to friends that live in other countries and were born up there, or grew up there, or whatever. How many links back to the UK? And it's not surprising because obviously at the time people were spreading out to get away from the tyranny of the UK. But for me, that in my head that's like centuries. Yeah. Whereas a lot of it's not that far.
It was over 100 years ago.
It was still a couple of grandparents away, but still. Not as long as I would have thought, which is mad.
Like it's weird to think that. I think I've mentioned it before. When we had Paul on, we were talking about just how old the UK is. Like the house I grew up in is older than the United States.
Oh yeah.
And that's just normal.
Yeah.
Which is quite bizarre when you think about it, because you think the US counts superpowers and this, that, and the other, and it's like. They're quite new still in the grand scheme of
very new
the Earth.
So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, which is in the west of Canada, and the population of Calgary in I think 1905 was 500 people.
Oh wow!
So it's really new, you know. And then even Toronto has a little bit older. Toronto's where I live now. We have some, Victorian brick houses and stuff like that, but they'll have a plaque on them because it's like a big deal. We don't have a lot of them. Whereas here, it's just like, oh, that's an old building. It's not special at all. Yeah. It's like, no, if we had this building, there'd be a plaque. They'd be on a walking tour. People would be like interested.
Yeah, my dad's cousin, I found out, well, it was a couple of years ago. She lives in Toronto and didn't think nothing more of it. Found out she was like quite high up in the Royal Mounted Police. So she's like, I would imagine to see her in like the standard outfit. Oh, it's like, no, we don't wear that.
They do sometimes. They do something called a musical ride that I found out about a few years ago, which is basically like a synchronized horse dance. Amazing. It's really incredible. You guys got to look it up. I've never seen one in person, but I was doing research for a project and came across this, and it's the most interesting thing about the RCMP as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
I feel like the mounted police in Canada is kind of like our equivalent of, I guess now, the King's Guard, with the big like bear skins and stood there on ceremony and all that sort of stuff.
I don't really know. Like jurisdictionally, I think it's like once you're outside of a city, the RCMP is kind of like the cops. So and they'll just dress like normal cops
like
and
state trooper kind of thing.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah. We don't have that. We just have like just different constabularies, don't we? When you go across like one road, you're like, I'm no longer in Derby, I'm in Nottingham, so I might get arrested by different people.
Yeah, who have different rules and
pretty much most of the same rules, hopefully.
Yeah, I think they're all generally the same.
Unless it's Chester, you have the right to shoot a Welshman with a bow on a certain part of the wall.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's still in the law.
Still murder.
I read a different...
Oh yeah, still murder. I mean, you wouldn't do it, but...
I read a different Bernard Cornwell book where they're defending the walls of Chester recently.
Oh, really?
One of the...
I recognise that one.
It's the series where he's a Saxon, but he's raised by Danes.
Oh,
it's the
yes, him.
Alfred the Great sort of series.
I always think he's a bit of a knob, that character, because he like constantly changes sides. But then when you start reading it, because I got told the story, like, oh, he's a Saxon, but then he's a Dane, then he's a Saxon, he turns on the Danes and he's a Dane again. I'm just like, this guy sounds like a bit of a dick. He can't choose who he's hanging around with.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah. I forget the trilogy now, but Winter King. No.
That's the Arthurian trilogy, the Winter King one. And that's a great read as well.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that's a Saxon.
I should know it because I read
a Saxon series, and there's about 20 of them. I read a lot of them when my son was young as well.
I think a TV series on BBC or ITV for a time.
I didn't watch it.
Is it Uhtred?
Uhtred, yeah.
Don't know why I remembered that. Probably because he's an idiot. That was good.
Yeah, I've got no idea what you're on about.
just Bernard Cornwell stories of my other than Sharp. I mean, I've read like the Starbuck series, which is like a American Civil War. That's all right. I've read the Arthurian ones, although I can't remember much of it now. But because the Sharp, I read a lot. I used to reread them all the time. I don't know why. I just really like. I was into Napoleonics as well. But the one I've read a couple of times is Agincourt, just a standalone on its own.
That's good.
It's really good. Is it Nick Archer? I think the character's called Nicholas Archer, and he's an archer.
I was going to say, joke, he's a cavalryman.
But it's well.
That's not the Thomas of Hookton, because there's ones that are 100 Years' War.
Yeah, there's the 100 Years' War,
and then
is that one.
And there's a trilogy, and then there's a standalone for Agincourt, right?
Yeah, I think it's the standalone. I'm thinking, maybe I got his name wrong, but I'm sure he's like Nicholas something or Nick.
That sounds right.
But yeah, there's a really brutal bit when the French are moving towards the because at that time the British had like a handful of men-at-arms and like nobles and just like loads of archers, and the French just had like a vast amount of like men-at-arms, and they start going across the mud. It's been raining, so Henry is like deployed his forces thinking, well, they've got to trudge across this mud, we'll just use the longbowmen to do all the dirty work. But the French start getting stuck in it, and then all the archers are shooting because they've got quite powerful longbows, so they're like, getting killed off.
Because longbows in Agincourt
but you look at it from like the grand scheme of like this massive block of men-at-arms, lots of armour, they're going to nail these guys, right? You've got like a small tiny amount in the middle and loads of guys in just like cloth, not doing much. But because they're in like light clothing, they can go across the mud a lot easier. So when it's a horrible scene because like some of the French are like being pushed face first into the mud, and all the mud's pushing through the visor.
Yeah.
So they're suffocating in the mud.
Oh.
So the mates are like getting shot, falling on top of them. There's a guy still alive. He's like, I can't move because I'm stuck in armor, and I'm like, oh, this mud's just soaking into his helmet. He's dying horribly. But then the archers just take off their wellies or their boots and just go across the mud and just start knifing them. And there's a type of knife. It's got like a sort of little ball shape at the bottom, but it's called a bollock dagger because it's for stabbing down that area. Because main archers. It's a weak point in the armor because obviously you need to move. So these are called bollock daggers for stabbing in the bollocks and basically bleeding out the Frenchmen. It was horrible. It's just
I
like
remember reading that
scene.
and thinking, damn, I need to get a longbow. It sounds pretty. Well, they talk a lot in the books about like how strong you have to be to draw it and stuff like that. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole with this, looking into like there's a ship called is the Mary Rose, I think. That sunk in the channel, and I guess they had loaded it up with cannons, and it was an older ship, and then they did like a high octane turn, and this water just splashed through the lower gun decks, and just it sank really quickly. So there's like really well preserved skeletons of like archers and stuff, and they can tell from the bones and stuff how like incredibly powerful they must have been, and they found all these well preserved longbows, and I'm just thinking like, damn, I need to get a longbow.
It's mad because you read about it because that was their job. Because they were either hunting, they weren't just like bows weren't just for war. I think sword is the only really weapon that's designed for war at that time. Like an axe is for like chopping trees. I think some like even like the bills and the halberds are like farming equipment at the time. But yeah, so starting off at a young age, just like your job is to keep doing this, and as you get older, you get a more poundage, a bigger bow. So because you're doing that all day, every day, like the bone structure and whatever is. So you could get a nobleman who's like, I'm really strong. Look at my biceps, and it's like, okay, draw that. And he's just not designed for it. His body's not adapted to it. So
and they had the whole culture of it, where they'd have these like tournaments all the time of shooting competitions, and so everybody was into shooting longbows and stuff because it was like, and they didn't have that anywhere but England, which is why they had the big advantage. Even though that anybody could get those bows, technically they didn't have the people who could shoot them fast and accurately like that. It's interesting stuff. Apparently, and this might have been the Duke of Wellington wanted to have longbowmen, and there weren't enough people that could still fire it. Apparently he was reading up on it, and he's like, damn, like we need some of these guys. Like,
I mean, it makes sense because they're not wearing any armor.
I mean, you compare it to a musket in terms of accuracy, how fast you can shoot it, and it stacks up. But the culture wasn't there anymore, where you have these guys who were shooting it from youth, and had that level of so.
I always fancy getting a bow as well, because when I've done reenactment, I'm a man-at-arms, so I'm probably going to get my face sunk into mud. Whereas like some other guys would, you get like different arrowheads for training and doing like reenactment, and ones for actually doing shooting at targets and stuff. But there was one year someone had put the rubber sleeve over the actual arrowhead. He got in so much trouble because he didn't want to take all the actual arrowheads off the arrows.
Oh, that's not safe.
So you get like these rubber things that you put there instead. So you take that off and replace the rubber thing. You just put them over the top, and obviously the power of it going through will just poke out the side. Luckily, it got caught before that happened. But yeah, we all used to, when we would line up before we went onto the field, you get like a guy come along and just grabbing your sword and just running his hand up it just to make sure it's not sharp. And I was like, well, I hope it's not. That's a terrible idea.
I seem to have severed all of my fingers. You're banned.
Because you hit them with steel, they do get burred quite a bit, so you get loads of like notches in it and stuff. And often you'd have to like file it down so it's nice and smooth again. So often he'll be checking just to make sure it's not like a sauce if you accidentally hit someone in the neck.
Right.
But
couldn't he check with something else?
Yeah.
A carrot or something.
A carrot.
Yeah.
That's a better idea, actually.
A sausage. Yeah.
I've got a sausage in my hand. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we definitely sidetracked there, didn't we?
Hey, I feel like I learnt a lot, though.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, do you do other stuff other than like workshop? I mean, like historical based. I mean, I've not seen much on the channel. I've
got some things in progress. I'm actually hoping to, when I go over to Foundry, pick up some Wild West miniatures.
Oh, nice.
I've got something I'm cooking up. One of my friends wrote a really good set of Wild West rules. I've been meaning to give them a try. So, and then I have a box of Saxons that I bought when I was reading these Saxon stories. They're still on the sprue, you know how it is.
Yeah.
I've got some Napoleonics still on the sprue too that I might do as redcoats, but I might also do them as sort of like a turnip sort of thing.
Yeah.
You've seen
Oh,
this? Where
yeah.
you guys
Turnip
take
28,
the
yeah.
Napoleonic soldiers and then put some,
Knights
night helms on
Yeah.
them and then
Yeah.
some static grass. It's really fun.
I think it was October
So-
we went to the event. We did a turnip,
Yeah.
little turnip.
Oh, you
tournament.
guys went to it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it was
brilliant.
great.
Yeah.
Max, who wrote the rules, lovely guy, very eccentric. Love his moustache.
It's the most exceptional moustache. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I met him last night,
Yeah.
actually.
Oh, did you?
Very
Oh,
nice guy.
amazing! Yeah,
yeah.
he's awesome. He reminds me of like someone that should be like lifting strong things in a circus.
Yes.
Oh,
He's
the,
like shaved
the
head.
dumbbells that are
Yeah.
round on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Yeah. Or like pull off an evil plan and go.
There you
But
go.
yeah, big fan of turnip. I like how so for like to scratch the itches. There's something I've started doing a lot more. Getting into skirmishes. I've been looking at a lot of the Osprey rules because they do a lot of skirmish based Osprey rule sets.
Okay.
So there's like Chosen Men, which is Napoleonics. There's Rebels and Patriots, which could be Wild West as well as obviously
Interesting.
your friend's got his own rules for Wild
Yeah,
West.
Dead by
Something
Layla,
like
it's called.
yeah, but then I'm sure there's a Saxon one. I think it's called Pax Imperia or something like that. But there's for literally every era, because we were on stream last night, weren't we? And someone talking about like, did they do for the English Civil War? And we managed to find it was like the Pikeman's Lament. It's called.
Yeah.
And again, just quick skirmish level, slightly larger than skirmish sort of games. So if you want to,
I have
itch.
no mind for rules. And
Absolutely.
I just can't even like absorb them until I immerse myself in like the aesthetic
yeah.
of the space. I literally have to build like a table of terrain and paint a bunch of stuff, and then I'm like, okay, now I can start to think about
And then
rules.
you go, I've painted everything wrong. No, 'cause
Yeah,
I've done
it's
that.
like,
I've done
it's
that.
not. Yeah, so it's a bit of a catch-22, but I figure it's better to just get going than worry about that.
I mean, my first proper foray into Napoleonics was with Duncan. He got some French and I got some British. And at the time, they had Victrix did flank companies and centre companies because the Perrys didn't do British at the time. They were in the workings, but they weren't out. And I was waiting for them to come out. So I got these Victrix ones, and I was like, "What's the difference between a flank company and a centre company?" I don't care. I'll just paint them all up because we're doing a sharp themed game anyway. And then as I got painting more stuff, I was like, so these are the ones that just go on the ends. So there's 10 companies in a battalion,
Yeah.
and 2 companies are flank companies, one on the left, one on the right. So I need more centre companies. So because they just have slightly different. They have like centre companies have pom poms, and then the flank companies have what they call the bird's nest, which is like a big sort of like croissant that goes on the side.
Yeah, that is the challenge with historicals.
Yeah.
I don't want to painstakingly paint them all wrong and then have somebody
I think
just
you'll
correct
find.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it'd be so nice to get them right. And then, but I mean, a lot of the historical stuff that I read, is completely fictionalized. Like, you ever read
Yeah.
The Guns of Navarone?
Yes, yeah.
It's great
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It has no bearing on
Yeah.
history. And so there's nothing really, I shouldn't be too fussed about painting
Yeah.
my guys wrong. And I said, they're my imaginary regiment, or whatever. But
Well, my favourite documentary of World War II is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
There you go. That's a good one.
So we all know that's stored somewhere in Area 51. So
Yeah.
it's a true documentary.
Yeah.
We fight he fights Nazis on a random island and recovers the Ark of the Covenant. So that
there you
happened.
go.
Yeah. It is a good documentary.
I've always wanted to recreate that as a game. It's like Indiana Jones, just some random characters, and then just like really mustache twirly evil Nazi guys, and then the Ark of the Covenant, and just do cool games like Pulp. That's the era, isn't it? It's like Pulp era, I think.
Did you know the game War Gods of Egyptus?
I do, yes.
Yeah. The creator of that has a pulp game.
Oh.
And I saw it at Adepticon last March when I was there. So he did a table for it, and it was really cool. It was like the Valley of the Kings, and he had it sort of down in a box, and then the ends were mirrors, so it looks like the valley keeps going on and on.
That
Beautiful
is
table.
genius.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
very,
So I'm
very
trying to remember the name of the pulp game, but it sort of escapes my mind. But there's so many niche games out there that I would
Yes.
love to have the time to just go into all of them. But as time flies, and you gotta do what you can.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question. Have you got other things you want to do while you're in the UK, while you're here, other than visit the great granddad's farm?
Yeah. Well, we're trying to balance. My wife's here with me, So I'm trying not to drag her to too much wargaming stuff that she's not necessarily
going to
the
Bournemouth,
most interested in. We are.
Yeah.
But then we have a lot of nice like restaurants we want to go to and date things planned, and I'm hoping to go to some museums when we're in London, and I love a good museum, you know.
Yeah.
And
The Wallace collection for like armor and stuff is amazing.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
really good.
I mean, the great thing with Nottingham as well is like you're fairly central. So a train trip, like 30 minutes this way, 30 minutes that way, will get you to like Leeds or Leeds Armories or whatever. So, you know,
it's really amazing how close everything together is.
Yeah. Like I drove 9-10 hours up to the top of Scotland recently to for a filming job. And I was like, oh my God, it's so far. And then someone was like, oh yeah, like in Canada, we just drive 10 hours to go to the cinema. Like just how the timings of everything is. Yeah.
No, it's sometimes people come to visit Canada and they'll have planned out their trip and they'll be telling me, they'll be like, oh yeah. And then I start in the Maritimes and then I take a bus to Toronto and then I take a bus to Vancouver. And it's like, that's a 4-day bus ride.
Yeah.
4-day bus ride.
It's a 4-day bus ride. And it's just, forest on either side until you're out of Ontario, and then it's just prairies.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to look at.
Yeah.
Like, there's really, but it's, I mean, the distance from like Toronto to Vancouver is, I mean, it would get you to like Morocco or something from here. Like, it's really like,
it's crazy.
It's probably, I didn't look at a map. I shouldn't have just thrown something out like that.
Another country.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a sense of scale for me because I remember when we were flying away from Chicago and we were over that lake is it Lake Illinois? We were over there. It felt like for an age. And I was like, is this the size of the UK? This lake is the size of the UK. It kind of feels like it's the size of England.
Like apparently like Brits go to Chicago and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't realize it was on the sea because it's like goes to the water goes to the horizon, it's that big.
You know what's really interesting is they actually reversed the course of their river at one point in history.
Really?
Yeah. Because they had all these slaughterhouses on the Chicago River.
Yeah.
And it was like stinking up the downtown. So they just did a bit of engineering and just reversed the river to go back basically the other way and down towards the Mississippi.
Oh,
and
wow.
all these farmers downstream from them were like, what are all these chemicals and runoff from slaughterhouse? It was a huge ecological disaster.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Oh, wow.
Just going to turn the water around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But yeah, the Great Lakes are no joke. They're they're a big deal. Yeah.
But yeah, welcome to tiny country.
Yes.
You'd be like, I'd like to go here. Oh, I'm there.
It is quite nice. I love traveling by train. I think it's like one of the nicest ways to travel. You get that table in front of you.
Yeah.
Rolls by.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I'm like, I know your wife wants to go for a bit of a walk when we head off to One World soon for lunch and stuff. And for me, I'm a walker. I like walking. And often, like when I was at One World, like working at the workshop, we'd go out into Nottingham for drinks, and everyone's like, "Oh, let's get on the tram, get a cab, get an Uber." I was like, "We could just walk. It's like 20 minutes."
I love a good walk.
And it's cheap, and it means, that money you're using for a cab or a tram, you could use for another beer. Just, you can work some of the calories off as well.
And you can walk back and fall in the canal.
But I was like that when I went to LVO. So Las Vegas Open, we were at I forget the casino we're at, but there was, in the distance, like a big needle. And there's like a sort of a ride on it, and like me, Dan, and another guy called Dermot.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, let's go to that. I was like, let's walk it. It's not that far away. I can see it. Oh my God, it took us ages.
Yeah.
And then we walked back because we're idiots. There's a section where you like leave the strip and it's just desert. And then it goes to like Old Town. And it's like, or downtown. I'm like, oh, is this wise walking in the desert? Oh, there's snakes. I was like, I don't care. Let's just walk. We're almost there.
Oh, there's a saying somebody told me recently. I don't want to offend you guys, but apparently that there's a saying that only two people go out in the midday sun as madmen and Englishmen.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's very true.
Yeah.
That's why we're called lobsters, because we burn.
Like Brits abroad are recognisable because they're binge drinking and they're bright red. Yeah. I mean, I'm like super paranoid, and I'm always putting SPF on and all that sort of stuff, just because I am like.
That's like when people like Brits go to Spain. There's a reason why they have a siesta.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, what? Oh, half a job, isn't it? I'm just going to go out here, go to the beach. Oh, I feel really ill.
Yeah. What's sunstroke? Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah, I remember like my older sister, she lives in Sri Lanka, and we went to visit when she got married like 10 years ago. And it was a really cloudy day, and me and my mum were like, we're going to the beach. And she was like, put loads of sunscreen on because you will get sunburnt even though it's cloudy. And I was like, my English brain at the time was just like, but it's cloudy, like there is no sun. What are you on about? And then got the worst sunburn of my life.
I discovered recently why that is because the sun rays bounce off the white of the clouds. So it intensifies. So if there's clouds and if it's a bright blue sky, you're less likely to get sunburnt than with clouds in the sky.
Really?
Yeah, because it deflects off the white. There's
I
a
didn't
TV
realize.
show called The One Show. I used to educate me quite a lot.
Yeah.
My mom's always telling me about, like, she'll look up not just the weather, but what the UV intensity is. I didn't even know you could do that until recently.
And pollen
it's an
count
8
in the
today.
UK.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you can
okay.
find out the pollen count because when I ride to work or to meet Pat, I'm just like constantly, that's you, I can't see.
Oh,
Achoo."
Christ, yeah. God, on a motorbike, having hay fever on a motorbike.
I changed lane. I don't want to.
Like by accident when you see it?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then he's just like, oh, great, I can see sod all now.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, sneezing on a motorcycle is not fun.
No. That sounds wildly dangerous.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. You get used
Yeah.
to it. You just don't open your eyes when you sneeze because they just fall out, don't they? That's what I've heard. That's what my mum told me.
Very
And don't
good.
pull faces when the wind changes. You'll stay like that forever.
Is this a superstition?
It was what my gran used, because I'd be like pulling a face at my sister, like that, and she'd be like, "The wind changes, you'll stay like that forever," and I actually believed it.
Interesting. And my wife is Russian, and she's introduced me to a whole host of new superstitions that I didn't grow up with.
Superstitions.
And I can't resist a good superstition. Like, once you tell me, I'm like, well, now I got to do that forever. Like, like they have one that's like, you can't, don't whistle indoors or you'll be poor.
Oh.
Which I hate, because you're doing the dishes.
I
you
did
just
not know
wanna-
this.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that terrible? But I'm sorry to share it with you because now it's in you. It's in there.
Yeah.
There's an artist called Kevin Chin who still works at Workshop, a lovely guy, and he had a superstition I didn't know was a thing, and I think it was when we were at Germany. Cologne. This is the toothbrush incident, and I think he had an umbrella for some reason, or he was talking about some superstition regarding an umbrella, and it was like, you're not allowed to take in, like, because he's from Singapore, and it's very, I guess, Chinese Mandarin sort of related culture, that if you take a wet umbrella indoors, it brings the bad spirits, the evil spirits in the house. So you have to leave a wet umbrella outside until it dries out, because the evil spirits can...
And if it doesn't stop raining, it'll never dry out.
Exactly. So the evil spirits just hanging on like, we're coming in. But I always, ever since then, I was like, I'm leaving.
Would you not have the superstition of you can't open an umbrella indoors?
Yes.
We've got that one.
Yeah.
I live
Yeah.
dangerously. I
Yeah.
walk under ladders. I like to live dangerously.
Yeah, don't go ladders. You're not allowed to step on like cracks in the pavement, otherwise
do,
you'll break your mother's back. All sorts.
That's
Yeah,
blurring
step
the
on a
line
crack,
between
break your mother's back.
between
Yeah.
superstition and nursery rhyme.
Yeah,
And nursery rhymes
yeah.
are always crazy. Like
Yeah.
I think about some of them because I got a little guy, and I think about, I just start singing them. I'm like, wait a minute, this is about, like, it started raining the other day. I started singing about there's raining, it's pouring.
Oh,
the old
yeah.
man says, this is about a guy who gets a concussion and doesn't wake up anymore.
Dies.
Yeah, it's about an old man who dies of a concussion. In his
Oh
sleep.
my God.
That is unbelievably dark.
Well, there's the
And that's not even the worst of
Ring
it.
a Ring of Poses.
Right.
Yeah,
That's about
the Black Death.
like they're,
We all fall down.
they're
dead.
all horrible.
Oh my God.
I know that.
No.
No, the pocket full of posies is because they
Oh
thought it was
my God, that
the
makes-
miasma, the ill humors. So
That makes
the
so much
flowers that
sense
protect you.
because there's a game on your phone, and every time there's like a disease outbreak. So during COVID, and I can't remember what the other one was previously, but and you can like plan. You can like start a virus, and you have to try and infect the world. And there's like a bunch of kids sing that in a really creepy way. When it's just like pocket full of posies, and I was like, why are they singing that? I mean, I get it's creepy, but it's the plague. Yeah, and the game is called Plague Inc.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, it's dark as heck.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's funny though how all those things are like a horror trope now too. Like I wonder 100 years from now, a ghost will just be a kid flossing in the hallway.
I need to see that one. I need to see
Oh
that.
yeah, like doing the Fortnite dances.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just like, oh my god. Yeah.
horror.
Yeah.
Because that's so funny. Like, yeah, like ghosts from like, oh, Victorians and they all do this. And it's like ghosts from like our age would be so rubbish. They'd just
Right.
just be like, oh my God, don't talk to me about inflation.
Yeah.
So I have a big fear, and as a father, right? When I found out Liz was pregnant, she knows this fear well. My biggest fear was twin daughters. Right,
Okay.
twin boys, not a problem. Twin daughters, and the reason being The Shining. Ever since I was a kid,
Yeah.
right? Well, I watched it a lot because my mum liked it and stuff, and I probably shouldn't have watched it at that age, but I enjoyed it. I didn't like freak out at anything other than the two girls stood in the corridor at any given moment when the two girls were in the corridor, hand together, like I forget what the kid's called now, but the Tommy, is it Hello Tommy?
Yeah.
I had to like go behind the sofa or like hide behind the cushion. You know, the weird, I don't know, rotten lady in the bath.
Yeah.
Fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with hag lady coming naked out the bath. Not a problem.
Well, how about, because the one that really got me as a kid, I mean, I wasn't even a kid, I was like maybe 12, 13 at the time, was The Ring, where you have a rotten little girl coming out of the well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
all that together.
And the people, it's the faces people pull when they've died and they find
Oh, yeah,
out
and they just
that-
show you
yeah.
just a little jump scare of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
The
that'll
Ring
get
and The
you.
Grudge. The Grudge made me jump a little bit.
I can't remember. Horror's not my.
It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer gets killed by a weird Japanese long-haired girl thing
Oh.
in an attic.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Anyone
Yeah,
goes in the
yeah.
murder house dies, basically.
Yeah, I mean, why
And
are you
of
going
course,
in somewhere
let's go
called
in
the
there and
murder
split
house?
up.
Yeah.
Split up. Terrible idea.
Yeah.
I forget what the movie is. Oh, is it The Cabin, where they do all those tropes like everyone was like, we should split up.
That was actually quite good.
Yeah, I
that
really
movie. I
enjoyed it
liked
because
it.
there's like an underground laboratory full of like all the evil baddies.
Oh, right.
And spirits and stuff. And they've got like these teenagers and youths and stuff at a cabin, and they're slowly introducing like horror things to them. And I think Chris Hemsworth's characters is like, maybe we should split up, and everyone's like, that's a stupid idea, let's just all stay together. And then the guy that it goes to like the scientists in the laboratory going, damn,
Yeah.
quick, press this button, and like some weird influence
Some
gas comes out
that it makes. Yeah.
and they're like, no, that's a great idea. So
yeah. That's a well done.
it is well done.
My
haven't
wife
seen that.
is really smart because when we're watching anything remotely scary, she'll pull up a website that says exactly when the jump scares are coming,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Genius.
and she'll find the script for a movie we're watching and read ahead, so nothing can ever surprise
right,
her.
wow.
And she'll, it'll like set something up, and she's also just got a real uncanny knack for the second they drop a hint of foreshadowing, she goes, oh yeah, he's the guy, and you know,
Yeah.
and she just sniffed the whole thing out right away.
That's a wife thing, because my wife ruins movies like that a lot.
Yeah.
And my favourite one I was watching was Lost in New York or Lost in LA, whichever the first one was. Escape from
Escape
LA.
from-
Escape from New York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So Lost, same difference, I suppose. You are lost a little bit. And she came in, I was watching it, I was like, oh, Snake Plissken, love it. She's like, oh, don't tell me he's like ex-special forces who's got to rescue the president or something like that. I was like, have you seen this before? She's like, no, why would I watch this? And I walked off, I was like,
Yeah.
No,
how
but
do
you know
even
what?
this?
Typical
When
man
something
film.
is so groundbreaking, it doesn't age as well because it becomes a trope, right?
Yeah.
Like you watch Bullet with Steve McQueen,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's kind of a snoozer now
Yeah,
because everybody was like, "Yeah, we need a badass car chase,"
Yeah.
and they kept upping the ante
Yeah.
to the point where the original doesn't stand up. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like there are kids today who would watch, and I know this because I watched with my wife's younger brother. We watched The Matrix,
Yeah.
and he was kind of like, all right, like what's, and it's like, no, you don't understand the context
Yeah.
of how
Yeah.
different this was.
Yeah.
You know, when the bullet time happened and everything
Yeah.
slowed
Yeah.
down and changed angles, it's like now that's just
Normal.
like,
Yeah.
it's been done so much that it doesn't hit the same. But
I think The Matrix, it still stands up like really, really well. I think.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the kung fu and everything that's in there is
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, like
yeah.
you say, it's groundbreaking for the time, but then
Yeah.
loses.
Yeah, I mean the
some-
plot still stands up really well.
Yeah.
The action scenes aren't groundbreaking anymore. Like, well,
No.
I mean they still are groundbreaking in the scope of things, but they weren't impressive to. I also think, in general, I used to watch a lot of kung fu movies and stuff like that, and now it's like maybe it's because the UFC is so popular or something,
Yeah,
but it's just
yeah.
I can't suspend my disbelief anymore.
Oh,
of,
okay,
and watch.
yeah.
And maybe it's just because I've gotten old, but now it's like action scenes are the most boring part of a movie to me. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
give me some more dialogue. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I do miss the old classic like Bruce Lee kung fu movies. There's one called Fist of Fury. Me and my dad
yeah.
we watched that a lot because you can tell when they punch, someone is hitting a pan because it's just like ping, pong.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like, is he made of metal? No.
But Bruce Lee he was notorious for hitting the stunt doubles. Too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he'd get
yeah.
surrounded by 8 guys and he'd really be booting them in the face.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, like was it the Hong Kong like action films like Jackie Chan and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff?
Oh,
Like,
Jackie Chan's amazing.
yeah,
Jackie Chan got his start getting kicked in the face by Bruce Lee. Really? He was
Yeah.
a stunt double. And so,
I reckon he assimilated some of Bruce Lee in that face.
Jackie Chan is amazing.
Oh, he's so
He's
cool.
so good. The choreography and the, you know, he make a comedy scene out of a fight scene. The
Yeah.
Jackie Chan is an exception. I'll still watch
Yeah,
a Jackie Chan
yeah,
action
yeah.
scene any day. You know, he'll hand you a vase, punch you, take it back,
Yeah.
jump through a ladder.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's
I think
incredible.
it was like Armour of God I watched, and we watched it on it was like a VHS from Blockbuster back in the day, as you do.
Nice.
And it had an extended bit at the end, and there's a bit where he jumps from a balloon onto a mountain where there's a cave where he has to fight like some other baddies, and they had to break filming for like 6 months because he missed and fell and broke his back.
yeah.
I was like,
There's so many of those
Oh.
stories.
they're like, oh yeah, we're a bit worried because we thought we might not be able to finish this movie because he might die, but he managed to pull through and
Yeah.
get back on the trail. I was like, that's insane. That's because Sean Bean did the same thing with Patriot Games. He's got a scar here.
Yeah.
And you know Harrison Ford ends up in Patriot Games. He whacks him with this because he's on a speedboat and they're fighting. It's when Sean Bean plays like an Irish terrorist. And they're going to get ready to crash into like some rocks. He ends up getting hit with the anchor from the speedboat, and he actually gets hit with the anchor from the speedboat and gets knocked out.
I hope they used that.
Oh
take.
yeah, they use the take. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's got a scar, so when he likes to do his own sort of stunts in sharp and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how he got that big scar on the side of his head.
I love that you're able to bring it back to Sean. It's
So
beautiful.
I can't help it.
Back to Sharp. Back to Sean Bean in
Yeah,
Sharp.
someone showed me a picture of like some heartthrob picture of Sean Bean. Go, I bet you had this on your wall. I was like, no, I had that in the wardrobe. Mrs. Peach can tell you stories. I'm sure.
Oh, dearie me. Lovely. We have some questions from our patrons.
Oh, tremendous.
If you're happy to answer
Of
some.
course.
Our Patreon community is notoriously silly because they take their inspiration from us.
Or we take it from them.
Yeah. So someone has asked, what brings you to the UK?
Oh, well, the Warhammer.
Warhammer.
No, I mean, I've got some English background. We talked a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And, my wife and I, this is our first trip away from our son
Yeah.
since he's been born. So it's,
Amazing.
you know, things just came together that made me want to come out here at this time.
Well, we're
Sorry for a
thankful you're here.
disappointing answer. I'm
No.
trying to think of a way to answer that that's fun and silly, but
Yeah. You should be like to party and play Warhammer.
Yeah, that's the best way.
yeah.
It's a good answer.
Catherine has asked quite a pointed question. Is the Titan finished?
The Titan is not finished, but there is a big update coming. So, yeah, I get a lot of questions about the Titan. Obviously, people are very excited about that project, and I'm very happy about that. And, you know, it's one of these things I've always jumped between projects. It's how I keep things fresh. It's how I keep my interest high. And the Titan is one that I don't want, like, if I don't feel like I can execute a part of it exactly how I want to, then I need to sort of iterate on smaller projects, develop the techniques, and come back to
That
it.
makes
So
a lot of sense.
I'm not trying to turn it around in your typical YouTube project schedule. Obviously, it's already been 1.5 years since I started it. It's taller than me already, and it keeps getting better.
Oh, wow.
And it will be finished. I'm not going to forget about it or abandon it. And sometimes, yes, the time does fly in between installments, but it's always being worked on. It's always being worked on, and an update is coming soon.
It's like the Mona Lisa. It took a long time to paint the Mona Lisa.
Is that right?
I think so.
right.
I believe so. If my art history is right.
You heard the theory
Tell
that
me in
it's
the comments.
actually a self-portrait?
Do you reckon?
Yeah, if you superimpose Da Vinci's self-portrait over the moon. I don't really understand how that...
It was early face app, I reckon, then.
Yeah, there you go.
Amazing. Witchlight has said, best and worst cheese,
Best and worst cheese.
if you're a fan of cheese.
Oh, good question.
We get the cheese
Classic.
question. a
Yeah,
lot,
we get the cheese
The
question.
worst
quite a lot.
cheese is probably the one that you get on the airplane. I can tell you from recent experience, that's a bad cheese. I don't know what they call it. I ate it in the dark. It wasn't good.
To hide the shame.
Yeah, what's that? What's the bird that you eat with the thing? Ortolan? You guys heard about this?
No.
They had it on Succession, on HBO Succession. It's like a delicacy. It's like a swallow or something.
Oh,
and
right.
I guess there was some taboo around it, so you eat it with a towel over your head and you crunch down on this bird. And it's a crazy thing.
Oh, wow.
Sounds
Yeah,
dodgy.
and the towel's to hide the shame of eating the ortolan.
Oh.
So did you do that with the cheese?
No, it was a red eye flight and the lights were off, so I just was eating it. But okay, best cheese. I like a crumbly blue cheese, but some people might say the worst cheese is American cheese, but American cheese is the best cheese for a hamburger. It doesn't split when it melts.
Yeah.
So
It's a high
it's
fat
a
content.
situational thing.
Yeah.
And I know that's
I'd agree
not a
with that.
very it's a very diplomatic answer maybe.
Yeah,
but
I think
I like every
everything-
cheese has its place.
Everything has
right?
its place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so you're a Stilton kind of guy.
Yeah, I like a good
Stilton.
Stilton. Yeah.
Get some Stilton.
And cheese gives you dreams, eh? You guys know
Oh,
about
I love
this?
cheesy dreams.
Yeah.
They're my
I've-
favourite thing.
It's my go-to before bed
same,
snack. I'll
same.
just eat a piece of cheese and then
My wife watches this
where I
fridge.
get
The
all my
cheese block
ideas.
gets smaller and smaller each time because
Yeah.
I have it a little bit before I go to bed because I love cheese dreams.
do you
Good
cut it off or
gosh.
you just pinch it off?
Oh, I cut it off. I go for a slab.
I'm a slab pincher.
Slab pincher.
There's all this weird ragged edge always on the cheese. That's me.
There we go. I've never had a cheesy dream.
Oh, you get some
Yeah.
amazing ones.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try it. That can be, 33-year-old me getting adventurous.
Here's a quick
Yeah,
example
exactly. There you
of
go.
a cheese dream. I was running away in Spondon Village, which is where I live, from Anakin and Obi-Wan because they wanted to arrest me.
I mean, that sounds amazing.
Should we deconstruct that a little bit?
Yeah, Peachy's been playing a lot of Shatterpoint recently.
A lot of Shatterpoint, a lot of watching a lot of Clone Wars, so it's definitely in there.
Yeah.
There you
go. Ricky has asked, do fish know they are in water?
They sure do, because they know when they're out of water. And some fish, as you know, can jump
Yeah.
out of water.
Yeah.
They know something's going on when
Salmon
they do that.
going upstream and stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll know for sure.
I mean, we know we're in space,
yeah. I mean,
kind of.
yeah.
Maybe.
Animals have pretty high level of awareness of these things, And I'm sure they can tell differences in temperature of water when another stream's coming in, when there's water is poorly oxygenated or not. They know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Very good answer. There we go. Stephen asks, is there anything you're particularly excited or nervous about when it comes to the old world re-releasing? Do you hope it'll lead to a Mordheim resurgence?
I really want that.
I'm nervous that it'll suck. I mean, honestly, I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't. My expectations are pegged very, very low not because I don't think that the studio is capable of doing something really great. I know they are, but because that way I can be pleasantly surprised and not disappointed.
yeah.
Right. I think the fact that we've seen, just a small amount of resin stuff so far certainly gives one signal about the direction they're going to go with it and the amount of resources they might be committing to it and things like that. But I think these things are. I always use this example where it's like if you've got Monopoly on the shelf at home and Milton Bradley, nerfs Boardwalk or something, and they say now it costs $1,000 and it only gives this much rent. You don't have to play it differently, I'm not going to rebase any of my guys for the old world because I wouldn't rebase them for Age of Sigmar. I'm not necessarily going to use the rules if the other person that I'm playing with is more familiar with 6th edition or something like that. So I'm really not concerned very much about what they're going to do. I think it's just all upside. We're going to get some cool new models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to see more people who are interested in square-based gameplay, and whatever GW does is kind of a bonus, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a bonus, and I don't want to say an afterthought because it's it's a big deal and it's exciting, but I don't think there's much that could go wrong, really.
Yeah. the worst you could do is re-release the game and re-release all the plastics.
Yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely.
People were happy with that the first time round. So
Yeah.
I mean, all I care about is getting those Bretonnian men at arms because I love their heads. They've got some great sort of like helmets and.
Oh, the new
headgear.
sculpts look great too.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
Yeah.
But
Just want more of that.
yeah, and apparently, actually, I saw some on Reddit maybe where somebody bought a kit recently and it came with squares and rounds already.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a bonus. I mean,
Yeah.
the more options they give you, that's good. If they
Yeah.
started just including square bases with everything, it's just a bonus.
That could also be an old set. If it's like Warhammer straight Age of Sigma set.
So it was that new looking box that's got the vertical pictures of a bunch. It was a very new looking box.
Yeah, okay, maybe it is in preparation.
I
mean-
wish there was more guidance over the base size because it seems like I don't know how soon it's going to come out, but no, I'm not concerned. I think it'll be cool to have that reemerge as sort of a game style.
Yeah.
yeah. Nice.
Awesome. Keith has asked, what is your dream project if you had unlimited resources?
Oh, I would do like a full size Hive City. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like something I love.
Yeah.
Like for me, I mean, this is maybe one of the reasons why I always build terrain and stuff is like I want to have foreground, middle ground, background all be immersive when you look at it, right? And the more that you're able to turn your head and still be immersed, the better. You know, so it always goes to like a large scale project of some sort like that. I'm actually really excited. I'm going to Warhammer World this afternoon. I'm excited to see some of the big dioramas they've done there and see if I can get some ideas from that. But one of the things that's actually interesting to me is they're doing the new small scale stuff with the Epic 30K.
Epic,
Yeah.
What do they call that?
Oh,
I should know.
I should remember. It's something Imperialis, isn't it?
Yeah, something.
Teeny tiny Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that kind of, when I think about big scale terrain projects, is a lot less intimidating if you bring the scale down a little bit. So it's exciting from that perspective to me as a terrain builder. It's like
Yeah. Yeah,
Sort
that'd
of
be really interesting.
get a little crazy that way.
Because I've never made like scenery building or diorama or anything like that. And I think I'd really like to try something. And I was reading the Night Lords books and there was like a cool scene in there where they're like, one of the guys goes insane and is just like shooting up at a Titan. And I'm like, that would be really expensive. But I could make a miniature version of it.
Right.
So that would be fun.
Yeah.
And cheaper, hopefully.
Smart move.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be fun. Alistair asked, what's your favourite Necromunda gang and favourite Necromunda miniature?
Ooh, good question.
Okay. That's a good question. It is a good question. My favorite gang, the gang I've played the most with is Delac, because I have the old metal Delacs. And, but I'm actually now more and more drawn to the Ashers, because I've been trying to convince my wife to play with me, and she's on board. It's just we, for some reason, haven't done it yet. And so I've been making her gang better and better and better. Her gang is the Ashers, and she named them all, and I'm giving them little bits of personality. And
Awesome.
and my painting keeps getting better, so I keep revisiting them and touching them up. And some of the some of my favorite models are maybe the old Escher Juves, because
Yes.
they really look like young women,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
love the contrast of a small Juve that actually looks like a youngster.
Yeah.
Because that's what real gangs do, right? Like
Yeah.
real baddies, they use children soldiers, right?
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
with little ponytail, auto gun, or is it?
Yeah, and then the
Pistol
girl
and-
with the
yeah.
wrench and everything.
Yeah.
I've got those. But I think if I had to choose a single miniature that's my favorite, it would be Brackar the Avenger, who's a rat skin
yes.
hero, and he's got just that classic sort of 80s action star.
Yeah.
Oh,
holding
yeah.
the heavy stubber in his rippling muscles.
Imagine mixing Dwayne the Rock Johnson from Scorpion King, and giving a massive machine gun.
Exactly. And it's just a fun mini.
Only
It's a fun mini.
improved. Yeah. Skinny Man just says, Eric? Question mark?
So this is a thing from when I did some streams a few years ago. I said, I told this anecdote. I shouldn't even tell it again, but I was on one of those things. It's like, maybe it's Omegle now, but it's chat roulette at the time. You chat with a random person.
Yeah.
And then,
And
I was
there's
on
lots of
that.
nudity.
I wasn't nude or anything. I was just checking it out with
Oh, yeah, I
a friend of
wasn't
mine. I was
suggesting you
wearing
were.
a shirt. Okay. And there was just a black screen, and in the chat, they said, Eric, question mark? And then they quit the convo. So I like, it bothered me because it could have been literally anyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like an unanswered question that sort of nagged at me. So then people started doing that in the chat because I was streaming. They said, Eric, question mark. And I said, okay, look, if you put Eric, question mark, I'm going to ban you. And then people, of course, started doing more and more. So that's, send me their name. I'll make sure they're banned from my channel.
Yes. Well, congratulations, Skinny Man. You have...
You're a lifelong ban.
You have been banned. Man spelled with 2 N's at the end.
He's like, no, what are you doing? Stop!
I'll remember that.
Amazing. Daniel has asked, what's your favourite tea to drink? If you do drink tea. You're a coffee man. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a coffee man, but I like a good tea from time to time.
I'm going to throw it in. The correct answer is Yorkshire tea.
What is that?
It's just tea from Yorkshire.
Okay. I like English breakfast. There's a hint
it's
of,
English
was that
breakfast.
bergamot that's in there? There's,
That might be Earl Grey.
it could be.
Yeah, that's got a bit big.
Sorry, I'm not an expert, but I do like a good cup of tea. My grandma was she used to do like a proper tea, and it was really nice. She'd have, when I was young, I understood that you could put as much sugar and cream in as you want, and then you could really have a party,
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's just a good option when you've already had too much coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like tea.
Kid yourself, it's got less caffeine in it, or
Yeah, I do drink too much.
something along those lines. I don't know which one's got more or less. People complain about it or debate about it and all that sort of stuff.
You know what? I do have a handful of herbal teas that I'll drink after dinner.
Yeah.
Because, some of them do have no caffeine, and that's a big help sometimes.
Yeah. My favourite video that I watched recently on TikTok, I think, is in the US, people don't really have kettles.
There's this microwaving tea.
Yeah, and I presume it was done on purpose. And someone was like, I'm going to show you how to make a British tea. So first, you put it in the microwave, and just everyone goes insane.
What?
The comments were hilarious. But
Yeah, I wish
it's
I'd asked for
brilliant.
tea instead of coffee for the authentic experience. But do you guys have to hot the pot before you brew the tea?
If I'm doing a pot of tea,
Yeah.
I will pour a little bit of boiling water and swill it round so it warms it up, and then tea bag, and then put the tea in.
My grandmother used to swear that it tastes horrible if you didn't do that.
Yeah, it just cool. Yeah, I can see that. I don't like tea in thermos flasks because it gives it a horrible plasticky taste. Never mind that.
Everything tastes of thermos flask, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. I'm
I've had
not into reusable water bottles. I mean, I figure of all the things, it's like when you can taste the bottle, something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like I want a neutral tasting water. Thank you very much.
Not bottle
Yeah.
tasting.
Yeah, yeah.
Taste the plastic.
There we go. Oh wow, Pepper the Shiba Inu. That's a kind of dog. They kind of look like foxes. One of my friends has got one. But Pepper the Shiba Inu is a very well-read dog, because they've said, thanks to your 2 videos where you painted all 18 Space Marine legions for the Horus Heresy, I now have a fully painted World Eater's army.
Amazing.
How does it make you feel when you see/hear that your own creative output directly influencing that of other hobbyists?
It's a wonderful feeling. It really is. It's really special. It's kind of surreal. Sometimes I'm not one to shy away from a conspiracy theory here and there. So sometimes I think that YouTube views are all fake. It's not real people, and then it's just the Matrix trying to keep me in my house or something like that. No, I don't know. But to see that it is real people, like that's one of the reasons I really like going to like Adepticon and getting out there, and then real people come up to me and they say, I really like this video. I did this, and that's too cool to me. Like, or I'll see somebody's built a really cool piece of Necromunda terrain, and I go, that's incredible, great work. And I'm thinking, man, that guy's so much better than me. And then he'll go, I was inspired by you.
Yeah.
So get out of here.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
awesome.
such a cool feeling to think that I am maybe, planting some seeds out there for people's creative energies to grow.
I guess
it makes me really happy.
In a weird way, you're kind of like the old guard of White Dwarf and those books at the time, but in a current sort of like new digital format that's like YouTube as opposed to books. So like 20 years from now, people will be talking about the Erics, the Trents, the Guys, the Squidmars.
That's cool to think about.
Yeah, the Suggs. Like, I remember that crazy girl who's from Scotland who paints things with rainbows. Yeah, we remember her. She's great.
Yeah, yeah. I always wonder what, because say like I feel like YouTube is having like the hobby channels are certainly like growing, and we're perhaps in like the newer wave of that, like us and Suggs and bits and bobs. I wonder what it's kind of like when we're all old, like what we're going to do. And just be like, yeah, we're still hobbying and we're in our 60s.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you, but that's definitely my intention. Is to
Yeah.
For sure.
because I want to then hit different age groups.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
as I get older, my eyesight's going to fail, my hands are going to get shaky. I can only have the strength to do certain things. So how do I do my hobby at that? So
Yeah.
how can I help other people?
Well, as your eyesight gets worse and you get older, that's when you go to smaller scale historicals.
Exactly.
Apparently. Isn't that crazy that the
Really?
reverse correlation?
Yeah,
that people
yeah.
get smaller scale as they get older and their eyesight gets worse.
'Cause
Nobody
you-
goes the other way, which you would think.
Yeah.
But
It's weird, yeah. But
No.
I guess the detail's not there, so you just put like black for the hat.
Yeah.
I
Red
think
for the
I think
torso.
Warhammer is the model trains of the Gen X and
Yeah.
millennial generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you know, I knew plenty of old folks that had model train sets
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
it'll be, I think, perfectly normal for an older person to have World Eaters Army or something.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and young kids will see it and go,
I
wow.
still in Derby, where Games Workshop is in Derby, there's a little road, little old sort of street called Sadlergate, and just around the corner is the cathedral.
Mhm.
And there was one day I was in the shop working. Priest comes in. We used to get some folks come in and just spout at us about how horrible we are because it's like demons and wizards and it's like heretical and this, that, and the other. This priest comes in. I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen? And he just walks down, gets the demon hunter codex, comes to the till. I'm like, oh no. I was like, do you collect demon hunters then? He was like, yeah, I love them. And I was like, cool. He was like,
that's
nothing better
funny.
than smiting the witch before I go to bed. I was like, cool.
That's hilarious.
That's amazing.
Love that guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Do you think he was maybe just
I said he was doing a seminar or like some kind of like.
just doing a bit for your enjoyment?
Maybe.
I like giving Games Workshop employees a hard time. When I go in, this is what I do. Honestly, I go in, and they say, you know, can I help you? Because they're always very helpful. And I say, yeah, I'm looking for an Xbox for my niece. And they go, oh, we don't hack to. I go, okay, no problem. PS4. And then they start, oh, I gotta explain. I go, I'm just kidding. I've been collecting for 20 years. And they're always, you have no idea how often we get that. I go, yeah, I do. That's the joke.
That didn't even cross my mind.
Oh,
that
I-
you just go in and be like, games?
I
Like, what
had-
games do you have?
It was me,
Yeah.
Chris Pritchard. We had someone come into the shop, come in, and literally they went straight up to the till because the till was quite close to the door. And he was like, right, he's got his Xbox or PlayStation, can't remember. It was an old
Oh,
one.
wanted to return it.
He was like, I want to return this. It's rubbish. And I just want my money back. And we're like, sorry, we can't return that. He was like, my wife said you were going to say that. I'm sick and tired of people like you. And he started shouting at us, like effing and blind. I was like, honestly, if just look around the shop, if you can find another Xbox or a PS4, you can have it for free.
Yeah.
And he was like, you what? And he looked around and was like, oh, my wife's an idiot. And then walks off. I'm like, no, your wife is not the idiot.
Yeah. And no, like, oh, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. It was just like,
yeah.
Because we had all sorts of people asking for things. Like my favourite one was someone came in and was like, do you do double glazing, mate? I'm like, other than the stuff that is in front of the window, how have
And like, because it says workshop, maybe?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Games.
Oh, glazing's a painting technique.
Oh,
Is that-
yes. Glazing is a painting technique. You're not wrong. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
absolutely.
have to ask Richard Gray. Yeah, can you double glaze?
Smart.
But yeah, I can't wait until I'm old playing Warhammer.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have grandkids, I'll be like super old. And then they'll be like, "Oh, Daddy, can I see your granddad, whatever? Can I see your figures?" I'm like, "Yes, blood for the blood god." Like, how great will that be?
I'm going to record that. What
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Lovely. 2 more questions to go. Robert says, honestly, what does your storage look like
I
for
was gonna
all of
ask
your
that.
terrain projects? Do you have an entire warehouse somewhere full of awesome castles and stuff?
No, I wish. One of my, I read these books when I was younger. Clive Cussler is the author, and one of his characters is he collects classic cars, so he lives in an old hangar.
Yeah.
And I think one day that's the direction I'm going. But
Nice.
currently, I just have a
Gonna have
suburban house with basement and closets, and there's luckily a big space under the stairs. Most of my things is in big plastic tubs, totes, and then just squirreled away in every corner I can. I've got some stuff up in the garage above. There's sort of a loft in the garage.
Yeah.
Although recently raccoons broke in there, got muddy footprints on everything. So
Damn raccoons.
that's not great. But really, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. There's no, and it keeps growing.
Do you reuse stuff, like break up old projects and reuse them in?
No, I've never broken up anything. I still have all the minis from when I was a kid. I am I believe the term is hoarder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a hoarder. And
But it's your job, so it's fine.
Yeah.
well, I'll tell it to my wife. She's convinced me to cut down on my other hoards, like my book collection. I thinned it down quite heavily. And, but the Warhammer collection is still growing and alarmingly large. And so I mean, the way I look at it too is my projects are not necessarily standalone. You know, if I have some desert rocks and then I build a desert fortress, it's cumulative, right? You know what I mean? Like there's so I can't possibly get rid of my old projects, or then I wouldn't be able to recombine them with the new projects and make something even that's greater than the sum of its parts. So that's kind of how I think about it. But unfortunately, I mean, my brother and I were doing something recently where we were bringing out a bunch of old models, and we realized that some of the first projects are no longer up to snuff. And so I have gotten rid of a few things over the years. I had some pretty shabby ziggurat that I made when I was 12 that we just kind of, we have a better ziggurat now. And some old hills had aged pretty poorly. So, yeah, but mostly it's just stuffed in every corner of my large basement and garage is the answer.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
Good gaming club. You know, you could make a gaming club with all the scenery, I bet.
I've thought of that, yeah.
Again,
I love to have people over for a game, you know, like I'll join a league and someone say, which game shop would we meet at? And I said, why don't you just, come by and we'll
play a game.
We'll set it up and then.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the last question?
Yes. From Rusted Bolt Gun.
Oh, nice.
And they say, do you have a favourite modelling tool? And if so, what makes it special?
Modelling tool, favorite. No, I don't have like special sentimental attachments to any of my tools because I abuse them so badly that I just couldn't possibly. But I have a very trusty glue gun that's worked really well for a really long time. Dual setting. So,
I like how we both just went, ooh.
Some glue guns get so hot that if you leave it unattended, it'll dump the whole glue stick.
Yeah.
This is not one of those. This one has the hot temperature is very hot, but also will just stay on its own, so I can leave it under a pile of papers, go away for the weekend. And
very good.
Not recommended, by the way, but I've done that. And yeah, I really love hot glue because when you're building something improvisationally, you can just it cools so quickly.
Yeah,
and you can just bang, 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 and
it's one of those things that if you don't like it, you can just rip it off.
Oh, absolutely.
Pick away.
Yeah.
Redo it and then stick it back on.
Yeah, and it's also it's got a bit of rubberiness to it, so it's not as brittle as sometimes. Especially, I've been thinking about doing this. I'm not sure there's wide enough interest, but there are some plastics that are just awful to glue. Like I know like Tech Deck like half pipes are made of this plastic. It's kind of an oilier plastic. And there's several like plastics that just won't. There are no glues essentially that work on them. And those things, apart from just totally avoiding them for modeling purposes, you have to be quite crafty about adhering them to things. A big pile of hot glue in behind something will always help. So
yeah.
It's like a get out of jail free card.
It's certainly. And you can use it. You can use it to like inject into something hollow to give it strength, like a paper straw or something like that. Yeah. And there's all sorts of uses for hot glue. It's a fun.
I was building a rock face out of cork bark, and there was just like some big gaps I didn't like, and I was like,
get in there, right?
Yeah, just had a little bit of broken cork and went at the top just to fill that hole.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh,
I'm just going to say thank you to Eric for sending us some maple syrup. There's one for me, Jeff, and Patrick. So they look like little whiskey bottles as well. I quite like that.
Yeah. That's what
took a shot of maple syrup. Yes.
Well, I mean, it's customary now that you got to chug it on camera.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
And make some dice. At first I was like, oh, do I go white or black? But you gave us all a set of white and black, so thank you very much for that.
Phenomenal.
You guys deserve it. You guys do a good job here.
We just waffle and talk nonsense, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
I don't know how we survive.
We talked a little bit about hobby, and then we went on a history and film tangent, and then brought it back at the end with the Patreon questions.
There you go.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on the show. We're going to go off to Bugman's in a minute and have some food.
I'm really excited. It's like, again, from someone who's like in North America and a little bit more detached, if it's like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory or something, it's like, there's so much mystique, and it's like, I'm just really excited to go over there and see what's going on.
You haven't been before?
Never.
Oh,
No.
right. Oh, right. Yeah.
No.
Get to see the rhino in the car park.
Yeah.
The closest I've been is when I was young. My mom was trying to take me and my brothers to Games Workshop in Mississauga, and actually accidentally took us to the Canadian headquarters, which is just a warehouse. But they were super friendly, and they welcomed us in and gave us a tour. Yeah, and they gave me like a stack of old magazines and books, including the modeling guide and How to Make Wargames Terrain by Nigel Stillman.
Yeah.
So those guys being so friendly was maybe a big influence on me as well, because that I think that I don't know if that book was even in print at the time that they did that, but it was very kind, very, very lovely move.
That era of workshop was very different, because they used to do like all sorts of tours in the studios. Because I was on a tour and when I passed my manager training, and you get shown around and look through the studio. Very less stringent on their NDAs and leaks. Didn't really care about that kind of stuff. It was just it's all for the love of the hobby. Whereas now it's a bit more like the leaks will damage us. Lose us money. It doesn't really. It's actually just builds
was it
the
like
hype.
the top comment on our chat with Tom was like, "Oh, you're going to be the reason for a new NDA."
25-year long NDA. Yeah, apparently. Yeah. Because he talked about stuff that's just normal business practice. But yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for having me on.
No, thank you. Well, it would be rude not
been
to
a
have you on,
pleasure.
since you're this side of the pond. So thank you for making the small journey from your hotel to here. Courtesy of Patrick's driving. Thank you, Patrick, for
Pat's Taxis.
Pat's Taxis. Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
In a new car, which is quite nice. I don't have to be
hoping
self-conscious
you
about
go
it being
down
really muddy.
The confectionery and cake route and have pat a cake as well, but maybe next time we'll make some cakes. But
Yeah.
There you go.
we're going to go off to One World. I might buy
Excellent.
some Necromunda.